It's called the Job Support Scheme, set to replace furlough when it finishes next month. It will see the government top up the pay of people unable to work full-time in an aim to stop mass job cuts, and it will begin, as I say, on November the 1st. But how will it work in practice? Joining us now is the Labour County Councillor, Karen Constantine. Karen, I'm interested to hear what you think about these measures. What was your initial reaction?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the programme this morning.
Pleasure.
Yes, I mean, look where we're at the moment. We're approaching 750,000 job losses already. We've got the deepest recession in the G7 countries, and what we've got here is too little, too late. I think some other newspapers have come out and said that as headlines today.
Yeah, the Mirror has, yeah.
What we really need is stability. What seems to be happening at the moment, and let's not forget, we've been in this pandemic now since March. We've had many, many months and weeks to start to fix this problem. But what we seem to be doing now is lurching from plan A to plan B to plan C to plan D, and so it goes on. And I think we need to take a closer look at what's happening in other European countries where, for instance, they are put much more robust plans in, and those plans job support plans last until the end of 2021. Now, if they can do that across the channel in so many other European countries, why can't we do that in the UK? Because we really need to keep people in jobs, and we really need a sort of stable, secure population. What we need to be doing is creating an economy with real stability and sustainable employment. And my thoughts are that unemployment is actually a huge cost to society. It's not just the cost of supporting people while they're out of work, but it's the cost of people not getting into the labour market in the first place. We learnt those lessons in the 80s. It's the cost of tipping 50-plus-year-old people out and them never being economically active again. So what the Labour Party are calling for is upskilling of workers, supporting workers through this difficult time so that they are secure and that they can support, contribute to the economy, because we must conserve economic capacity at all costs. So we need to recover jobs, we need to retrain workers, and we need to rebuild businesses.
Wouldn't you, on that point, Karen, sorry to interject, but wouldn't you agree then with the Chancellor? He's saying, look, if a job isn't viable right now, we're not going to try and save that job, harsh as that sounds. What we'll do is try and get people into new industries, new economies, new jobs, and that's what you're saying with upskilling.
Well, yes, that might be the case. There may be a fundamental shift that takes place. It may be that the hospitality industry and the aviation industry don't recover quickly enough to the previous levels. But don't throw the baby out with the bathwater here, because I'm pretty certain that once we get a vaccine, all of that pent-up demand for travel will just be released into the marketplace and people will want to travel. So hospitality could find itself back on its feet. The workers at Gatwick could find themselves back in business, as it were. But if we're going to have upskilling and retraining of workers, then we need to see what that is. I mean, at the moment, it's plan C, plan D, plan E.
Yeah, but some people listening to that, Karen, would say, well, look, we're in a pandemic. It's a moving situation. That's exactly what you need to do. You need to have a plan, and as the virus rates change, you change it. As you realise you don't have a vaccine yet, you change it, if you see what I mean. It's being flexible, isn't it?
Exactly. So why have we got another short-term plan? And that was my opening
6 months.
remark, wasn't it? Well, in other European countries, in Germany, France, Spain, Italy, Netherlands, Belgium, they've got a plan until 2021. So
it's
why
expensive.
I don't
think that
any different.
You ask why. It's the money, isn't it? It's got to be.
Well, if other European countries can find the money, why can't the UK government look at finding the money? Why don't we look at what the true costs of unemployment are? Because the true costs of unemployment are the costs that are then added into the NHS through mental ill health or through physical incapacity, because work is generally held to be good for people and we want people to be in work.
Of course.
Why aren't we looking, for instance, at kind of short-time working? Now, the Trade Union Congress have been calling for a 4-day week with no loss of pay. Now, that strikes me as being a very good idea. This scheme also could have the perverse impact of incentivising employers, instead of keeping on 2 people, to keep on 1 person, because it's actually going to be more costly for them. And that is a fault within the scheme. And also, the scheme doesn't take into consideration the freelancers, the self-employed, the pregnant women, the people who have to shield at home with disabilities. We do know. We do know the difficulties of dealing with the pandemic. We've got some sort of handle on that now. That's true. We do know that a vaccine is coming, and it will come in due course, so we can have some confidence.
Yeah, it's a point I made earlier, Karen, and I said, but these businesses might be viable in 6 months' time when we have a vaccine, and someone said to me, yeah, but it could be 5 years. That's the problem, isn't it?
Well, it could be 5 years, but we have to be positive. We've got countries that, this is a global issue. So there is going to be a breakthrough. I think we have to be confident about that. Certainly, if you think about the beginning of the pandemic, the treatment wasn't brilliant. We've improved the treatment so people
Massively.
recover quickly and more people recover. So we can go forward with a degree of confidence, but people need to be assured that the jobs will be there. Our unemployment rates are really incredibly low. Forcing people into poverty when they want to work is completely wrong. We should have gone down the path of short-time working with a much longer period of time for employers to be guaranteed some sort of job support subsidy. That would make more sense. What will happen is we'll come back to this point in 6 months' time and we'll have this conversation again. And we'll end up putting another scheme in place because we will need something that takes us to 2021.
Okay. Well, listen, Karen, on that point, let's see if you're right. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning and joining the conversation. That's the Labour Kent County Councillor, Karen Constantine. You've heard her concerns. Do you share them? You can text me this morning, 81333. Start your message with the word Kent as we continue to discuss the economic measures set out by Rishi Sunak yesterday.